Hey, and welcome back. When many people starts to hear things of this nature and start to learn things about law and its operation, which is legal aspect, whether by way of the maxims or by way of doctrines or other aspect of common law, or even if you study their codes and statutes so that you can know the limits of their reach. When people listen to things of this nature, they listen with an ear and an expectation that whoever they're listening to is going to speak in a manner that's going to make them the most comfortable. If you want to evolve, waiting for somebody to constantly regurgitate something that makes you comfortable based on the limits and confines of what you know is going to be the main thing that will prevent you from evolving. But then again, it's only a choice. To stay in one spot or to keep on moving forward. A quick guide to sovereign citizen. This is a memorandum released by the UNC School of Government. Much of the information for this paper was provided by Detective Rob Finch and Corey Flowers of the Greensboro North NC Police Department, meaning these are municipal police forces and their employees and how they are trained and how they perceive things. Amy Funderburk of the NC Administrative Office of the Courts, meaning there are employees on an administrative level that are also conditioned about what we're about to read. And this is how they view most people who do certain things. And David Adinolfi of the NC Attorney General's Office. The Attorney General is the attorney on standby for the state of so-and-so. So there is a conglomerate, a union between the municipalities and the different subsections of that municipalities and the departments, their police and power, their attorneys, and the medium to which they make their finance by acting as agents for the codes and statutes. They are all in this, and they train themselves with this. They created a specific guide to categorize and limit a certain group of people called a quick guide to sovereign citizen. Now this is just for North Carolina. The same is uniform in any other state, and they have their own independent publications for their insiders to show people certain things. Sovereign citizen is a catch-all phrase referring to a variety of anti-government individuals and groups who share some common beliefs and behaviors. The organization to which many sovereign citizens belong have a variety of name. Moorish Nation, the Our Group, Washita Nation. Now, these are not my contentions, and I'm neither saying it's right or wrong. American Republic, Republic of the United States of America. The same view may be embraced by freemen on the land, Sons of Liberty, Aryan Nation. And the sovereign citizens may not affiliate with any of these groups, meaning they are offshoots and independent man and woman who subscribe to the same concept, regardless of whether you say you belong to a body politic or not. Once more, it's not being delineated here whether it's right or wrong what is being shown here, but I am revealing to you what they condition themselves with on the back end and how they view things and the importance of certain buzzwords in one way or another, because words are power and words will create reality. And oftentimes with someone who has been hypnotized and conditioned to a culture of a working environment, they will enforce that hypnotism that they've been conditioned to so quick that by the time you realize what's going on, that a reality is being created based on their hypnosis, which kind of blends into your reality, it'll be a little bit too late. You'll find yourself trying to fend off their claims. You should know this beforehand. In one way or another, though, all sovereign citizens, whether tied to an organization or not, meaning there's a presumption here that there are people who are sovereign citizens who are not tied to a group. Even if you don't subscribe to a concept of being a sovereign citizen, they have something in store for you. This is their buzzword that they use to box everyone in. Remember, they call it a catch-all phrase. In one way or another, though all sovereign citizens, whether tied to an organization or not, adhere to a view that exists in American government structure including the courts and law enforcement, is illegitimate, and that they, the sovereign citizens, retain an individual and common law identity, exempting them from the authority of those fraudulent government institutions. Once more, repetition is necessary because most people get emotionally stimulated by listening to this. Oh, you're trying to talk down on us. No. I am telling you, I am giving you a forewarning of what is going on and how they condition their employee to interface with you. And most importantly, the perspective that they hold towards you. Remember, everything is about contract. And whatever they do that one man or one woman perceives as being illegitimate, it's all based on rights and obligations of contract. If you don't know what that means beyond the buzzword of administering your estate, or that you are of this house, or that you are a king, or that you are a Moor, whatever it is, not that any of those claims are not right. You merely saying you're one thing is secondary. Your ability to enforce those things is what makes you that title that you're claiming. It's like wearing a fez. Your ability to wear whatever color that fez signifies is not necessarily by virtue of you just looking cool. It's what you know and what you're capable of that qualifies that fez that you wear. It's what you know and what you're capable of that qualifies the status that you claim to be. If you say you're a secured party or a creditor or a secured party creditor, if you say you're a sovereign or a sovereign citizen, if you say you're a Moor or a Native American, whatever it is you say you are, it is your capacity of the mind and your ability to enforce things that qualifies as the initial factor for you to then tag yourself with that claim. What they're in short are telling you is, we are confident that you are not competent. And so we're going to take that which could possibly have validity and we're going to twist it and condition our employee to see you as otherwise. Why? Because we're not going to play the victim and you're going to be the bad guy saying that we're illegitimate. That's what they're doing. I'm not saying it's correct or incorrect. What I am saying though is be competent beyond buzzwords. And it's very quick and very easy to figure out whether you know what it is you're doing or not. Merely calling yourself some status or intending to come in as a certain capacity or using all these sweet buzzwords is not what affords you remedy, solution, or recourse in a manner that's beneficial to you. Sovereign citizens may issue their own driver's license and vehicle tags, create and file their own liens against government officials who cross them, question judges about the validity of their oaths, challenge the applicability of traffic laws, and to them, and in extreme cases resort to violence to protect their imagined rights. See this last part? They're telling you don't know your rights, so it's a mere imagination. Because if what you're doing is put on liens on, quote, government officials, and you think that's going to be the end all meet all without first actually doing certain things to make this valid, if you think merely creating your own driver's license and vehicle tag is all you have to do and go out there and be ready to argue and fight with someone, they're letting you know that you live in a la-la land. Your capacity and understanding of how things work is what makes all these valid. And then and the fact that you question supposed public officials like acting judges is not wrong. Everyone has the right to. But bear in mind, before you begin to pose a question to somebody, you better know the answer to that question. And you better know where you stand regarding that question and why you're asking that question. Oftentimes, most people do not. Again, I led the beginning of this video with basically making it clear that most people want to hear what they want to hear so that it could conform to their current perspective of reality. That's not how reality truly works. You can perceive it a certain way and make it so, but after a while, nature and universe itself will compel you to evolve. And it will kick your ass if you don't evolve. And that is just kicking your ass because of your lack of willingness to evolve, to move, to put things in motion. You consequently pull others back. because none of us are separated regardless of what we think we are, what we think we do. If you are truly about substantive right and freedom, then you must know these basics. You must know your substantive right, and you must know the terrain and perspective and the type of weapon the opposition is using towards you. You just can't go around talking about you are this, you are that. If you don't know how things are being approached and how you ought to approach things, you'll be lost in the sauce. None of what is mentioned here is either wrong or right, but they will milk it all the way, so much so that it will put the fact that you resort to violence to protect your imagined rights. Despite the fact that there are a lot of common law res judicata that says that yes, if you have to preserve your right by use of force, then do so by all means. Do they not use force when they want to enforce things that are quasi in nature? Sure they do. But the way they initiated this memorandum makes it very clear in the mind of the reader. And keep in mind, most people who work for municipalities, whether the police or the attorney's office, their mind is boxed in. They've been groomed and conditioned to think from a limited perspective. If you do the same thing, you easily fall under the categorization of a victim that they are breaking down here. Because the mind of those people that are employed by those municipalities and corporate entities are in a box. If yours is also in a box, it fits perfectly. It goes on to speak about the Uniform Commercial Code, which there's nothing wrong with. None of these are invalid. None of this that they are purporting here is actually bad. But the key word is the fact that most people are unrealistic. Most people are delusional, and you yourself kill the basics that you're supposed to be preserving for your children. You yourself kill the basics and the foundation and solution that you think you're seeking because you want to stay. It's very easy to be impulsive and get emotionally involved. But when you let that carry you away, it will remove all the substance and open doors to fuckeries like this. At their most harmless, sovereign citizens are cranks who talk what seems like gibberish to cops and magistrates and judges, and then become law-abiding when they face real legal trouble. Believe it or not, this is in fact how majority of people are. They just want to talk a bunch of trash. Like I always say, you talk all that trash on a piece of paper, but you don't know how to perform, or you don't know how to have certain things lead you first before that piece of paper. Most cops are comfortable in slavery and fuckery, and they think you think the same way as they. So when they start hearing certain words about Constitution or this and that, they pull you under the same category. Why? Because someone in the past have screwed around without really taking their time to know what they're doing, and now they're pulling everyone else in that same category. They don't care who you are, how competent you are. They will pull you into that realm of death first, into that realm of serfdom first, until you prove yourself otherwise. But it doesn't have to be that way. If there is a record being set straight constantly, and people just aren't jumping the gun, and people just aren't having short attention span, and people just aren't trying to read or listen to things in a manner that conforms to how they feel or what they want to force and compel to work. If people actually look at things for exactly what it is and actually understand the substance of who's who and what's what, and how certain tools can be used, and they wouldn't even be doing this in the first place. The way that tort is created, believe it or not, it's not the actual verbiage of the law that says if this is done, then this is done, or if this is done, then this is the recourse. That is not the qualification of tort. In truth, when someone abrogated against you, when someone trespasses against your substantive right, when someone engages in a tortious act, the cruel and unusual punishment within Amendment 8 of the United States Constitution, that come to find out apparently a lot of people hate also. You keep hating that. You keep doing that. See how long it takes you to get remedy what you're doing. But nonetheless, the true way that tort is created, it's the norm that's created. If you can walk down a certain part of the street without any issue, but for whatever reason you hesitated once, and the other party there that's supposed to be inferior to you sees that you hesitated, they will then begin to slowly make it a norm because, well, even though it's not written down on pen and paper, and even though it's not lawful, now I can stop you from walking down that street because you hesitated. Now, when another man comes who is clueless or neutral or thinks otherwise, that inferior man or woman will now confidently say, no, you can't walk down the street. Why? Because they've gotten away with it with someone in the past. It becomes a norm. And that's truly how tort is created. When someone gets so comfortable with what they know and what you know is incorrect, tort comes to life. Tort does not occur usually through mistake. Tort occurs through willful act that someone has done in the past before and they got away with it, and they will keep repeating it over and over and over. Why? Because they're confident that they can get away with it. They're confident that they can get away with it because they create memorandums like this to hypnotize their employees, because they're sure and they're certain that most people live in an imaginary world with an imaginary right. Whereas most of those people living in that imaginary world are saying, oh, everything is fiction. And they're telling you, yeah, you're right. It is fiction. And you're operating in it also. You're doing your best to run away from fiction so much that they're telling you, you are the fiction itself. And guess what? Take advantage of them as much as you can. You must understand the dynamics of how things work. And things like these will not come to life. For anyone to compile each sentence, each word, and release it as training tools and distribute it amongst other entities, that means they are confident that they can do this. That's right. They are confident that the other people doing their best to free themselves and to create a better life for their posterity, they are confident that those people are incompetent. So much so that they call your rights imaginary. It's imagined merely because you don't know how to bring it to life. Your rights are in fact imaginary. You can't touch it. Its rights are incorporeal until you begin to bring it to life. That is how contract work. Everything at North America is fictional, even if you're not dealing with corporate entities, unless you bring it to life. Nothing wrong with imagined things, but if you don't know how to bring it to life by compelling performance through liability or through value, then it remains imaginary. It remains in a world that's just spurious somewhere in the air. And another misconception that most people fall in is they always have to, they look for liability by force. Sometimes liability is created and performance is created when you bring value on the table. That is the twofold that most people don't get with things of this nature. Most people think you will get solution or remedy when you always yell, scream, hark, and bark and stress yourself out. It doesn't always have to work that way, if you know what you're doing at least. If not, this is what they got for you. They then go on what they believe. Although the Murad sovereign citizen groups and individuals not tied to a particular group, meaning they're constantly trying to qualify that, look, they don't have to be a group. So long as they behave a certain way, treat them this way. All have their own idiosyncrasies in their beliefs. They tend to share some common ideas. Then they go on and on and on and on. For example, by identifying oneself as John Doe, executive trustee for private contract trust known as John Doe all capital, or by identifying oneself as executor for strawman, or by using a copyright symbol with the name or saying John Doe secured party, authorized representative, attorney in fact, in behalf of John Doe all caps, copyrighted symbol, or interspersing colons or hyphens or other old punctuation in the name, or using the prefix noble or the suffix bay or el bay with one's name, and so on. None of these are actually wrong, but they've been so comfortable that they can make it wrong and create that reality, and then perpetuate that reality, whether it's false or true, amongst themselves so that they can make more money and then accomplish that thing that you are always upset about, that you don't want them to do. Why? Because you just jumped on the bandwagon with your emotional impulse. Nothing wrong with emotions. Emotions are fine and good and well. They are tools that must be used and mastered of the mind, and mastered within the mind. They are fire, but if you don't use it right, that fire will burn you. And one of the ways that that fire is burning is through things like this. The opposing party gets very comfortable and they do whatever they want. You can go through this by yourself. This document is publicly available. You don't need any privy access to get this. Just Google or use Start Page or use DuckDuckGo, whatever it is you want to use. Go to a search engine. Look at A Quick Guide to Sovereign Citizen, 2013. So are you sure you still want to stay in the realm of speculations and not actually comprehend the dynamics of how things work and how it's slowly being stripped away from you? If not, hey, that's fine. You keep on doing what you're doing. Best of luck.